dead or are dying every day. So what is the State Department are doing about it, and what is so far the issues that you guys are discussing about to help that region of the world and Horn Africa?
The challenge is that I think people need to know that we have always been in the region providing food assistance to the people not only in Somalia but also Ethiopia, Djibouti, Kenya, and the other countries that are affected. So we've always been doing that. We have our FuseNet, or the advanced warning, early warning, and so we understood the problems developing and evolving, but it really came up very, very quickly, quicker than I think many people anticipated. And so we were able to get food in the pipeline. The problem comes in as 60% of the 3.7 million Somalis at risk of starvation are in Shabab-held territory. So it's very difficult. And so what unfortunately was happened is that these people are leaving the Shabab areas, walking hundreds of kilometers to Dadaab. Right now it's 1,600 a day. And then in Villa Alto in Ethiopia, it used to be 2,000 a day, it's now down to 400 a day. We're not sure why there's a cut off. But the people coming in are very weak. And what's so sad about it is that many of the Shabab-held territory, there's food, but it's so expensive, and they can't afford to pay for it. And so they're moving, and that's the sad part.
The sad part.
This is a man-made calamity.
Exactly, and the other thing that I want to mention that there's so much fundraising going on in the state of Minnesota and international, worldwide. How is the U.S. government monitoring all this food are being sent back to the CDLs, and how did they are reached back to Somalia? How is that being monitored, and how you guys are sure all these people are saying they are doing what they're doing?
See, right now is we want to monitor the food that's going to the 870,000 Somali refugees in the region. Right now there's about 496,000 in Kenya, 390,000 in the Dadaab refugee camp alone, and then going up to 199,000 Somalis in Ethiopia, and most of them are in the Del Alto area. So we are looking at how to feed them, plus a 40% who are in secure areas in Somalia. So we're now doing food into Mogadishu, but we need to do more. We need to get into the Shabab-held territory.
And then also there's a report that's saying that Al-Shabaab are making sure there's no food, or like you said, anything that to reach all the starving children and famine and women who's starving every day. As we're speaking right now, as a child dying. So how the U.S. Department, what's the plan to make that happen, that food that reaches that region of the world?
Very difficult, very difficult. Yes, you know right now you have militias aligned to Shabab. And remember, the Shabab is not a monolithic group. It's fractured, it's divided along clan ties as well. But you do have elements that are cutting off food aid into the over 100,000 internally displaced Somalis near Mogadishu.
Right.
So AMISOM troops are fighting them in order to get the food to them. But then from there, we need to get food deeper into
the other region.
We have to, South Central Somalia, because that's where the people really are in need, and that is going to be very, very difficult.
And the other thing I want to talk to you about, I'm aware of it, you had forum discussion of the Somali youth here in Minnesota. There's so much going on, our youth, the Somali youth. There's so much being portrayed, saying that the Somali youth are being treated and being brainwashed at different locations in Minnesota, sent him back to Somalia, so being trained at Al-Shabaab to become one of the militants. Can you tell me a little bit about what the American government are doing, especially youth department?
Well, that's a very difficult issue because, 99.9% of this community is very dedicated and devoted to their own education and to the community. Yes, there are members who have gone wayward and joined gangs or have not done well, but essentially the community is a community that's in a state of development and it's a work in progress. And I don't think you should deter from the successes and achievements of this community on a few people, ones and twos, who have gone to Somalia to join a jihad movement. That's not the community.
Exactly.
There's only a few.
There's a lot of good success stories. Like one time I interviewed one of the group here in Minneapolis called Young Achievers. And they were telling me they could have choose to be gangs in the streets and join in different militants and around the world, but they thought this is the time because it's a freedom in this country. And United States really opened the door for us in America. And they want to take the opportunity to learn. So now they're saying that really we don't have to be in the streets and gangs. We are going back to school and we're learning and we want to educate our youth and so many positive things, but I don't see that every day.
And I hope you can tell some of your viewers that we need
Yeah.
more men
More
in,
men
the,
involved.
in the colleges. Right now, as we have about 800 Somali Americans at the University of Minnesota,